So, hey Jay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm alright.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you been feeling like you've been able to get more organized within the past week or so?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
Um, I tried doing the schedule thing to you work on this from this time, this to this time. I didn't spend as much time doing things as I would have liked to do because sometimes it just took me. It's kind of hard to get motivated.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard to get myself going on it. And then when I was going on one thing, it's hard to say, okay, your time's up, now you have to switch, even though I was in the middle of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So then my schedule didn't stay super strict, but I did try to do the schedule thing, but I mean I was still stressed during class. I would still then get anxious before going to bed because I'm sitting there and I'm writing through the list of things that I haven't done yet that need to get done. So I mean, and I guess I did start getting better with the whole schedule this amount of time for that, but then actually being able to just switch to doing something, getting myself motivated to do things, it's just really difficult.
Okay. And then you realize that this is new. This is not something that you've done before. You know, you've not ever had the chance to practice this skill. Is basically what we're gonna call it. So, I want you to keep trying it. I don't want you to stop. If it gets to a point where it starts to feel better, let me know because then maybe we can go further with it and maybe start pushing it into some other areas. You know. How did you deal with? How did you deal with your? I remember you were saying something about sleep. Your sleep pattern being off. Did getting organized help at all with sleep?
I don't know. I mean, it varies from week to week to begin with. Can't say I noticed a huge difference between the 2 weeks because while sometimes sure there'll be sometimes when it's really clear that I'm staying up because I'm finishing work, but I feel like most of the time my not getting to sleep it isn't necessarily because I've stayed up doing work. It's because I'm worrying because I haven't figured out what I'm going to teach in class the next day or next week. I'm worrying. I'm sitting there and I'm just going through everything that I need to get done, or I'm thinking about a meeting that I'll have to go to. It's I feel like it's almost not exactly unrelated to getting organized and such, because I'm sure that if I had stuff together, I'd have less things to worry about and then stay awake. But I feel like I just always find something to worry about.
Okay. So, why do you think that you worry so much? What will happen? What would happen if maybe you said that you were going to turn in, or that you told your students you were going to have their essays graded by a certain day, and that didn't happen? What's going to happen then?
Well, I'll be very, very anxious about the night before, and I'll feel really bad because I said I was going to do something and I didn't. I'll sort of feel like I've let them down and failed a bit, and it's because it isn't their fault that they aren't getting this stuff back. It's my fault for not getting it done when I said I was going to.
And so then, would you find the time to do it the next day?
I'd certainly try to.
Okay. Would you eventually grade the essays?
Yeah,
and
they'll eventually get graded.
Okay. And is there a particular learning outcome? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to find out is if you feel like you're failing because you're not giving the students their work back in a certain amount of time, is there maybe another exercise that you can do with them that doesn't require you to bring homework that would maybe still give students the same benefits?
Well, you can. I mean, I can technically do things with them that won't be graded. I could have them do essays and then have it just be graded based on, okay, you did something and so you get a grade. But and some teachers do that and some don't. It's sort of a decision thing there, and I guess one of the reasons why I don't usually do that is, first of all, I feel like that's just a cop out on my part because I don't want to do more work. And I mean, additionally, then you'll have students who then are just, writing down absolute garbage, and you're not then giving any recognition to the students who are actually like trying hard and trying to understand the material and starting to work on it and get it. Then there's no difference between that and the students who are just whipping something out without even thinking about the material and might not even be on the right subject.
Okay. So you said if you were to assign the work in a different way, maybe having peers grade one another's work, or doing something in class that doesn't require you to bring work home, you feel like it's a cop-out for you to not bring work home? What does that mean?
Well, I feel like I'm just not doing everything I'm supposed to when I go that route because I'm the teacher. It's my job to teach them material and make sure that they're getting it, and and giving recognition to those students who are actually working hard on it and doing well. And then also, I mean, with some of the things that you can do more in class where then it's like graded in class or whatever, it isn't that those are necessarily bad ways to go. It's just that I have such a limited time to teach them the material to begin with that every time I sit and we grade it in class, or we do a group discussion on it, or we swap and have someone else grade your essay, that's taking time from teaching them other and more material versus having them do an assignment and then having me grade it at home. That doesn't take away class time.
But it does affect you adversely, which then affects the kids in the classroom the next day, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So it sounds like it sounds like you're trying to trade off. So you're thinking, well, if I can get more done during the day, during the time that I actually have with them in class, then I'm a good teacher. But when you take things home and you don't get them done, you're a bad teacher.
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that there are effective ways of doing things in class with the students that don't require you to bring things home, where the students will still be learning? Do you know anything that you could do like that? Have you explored any options like that?
Well, I mean, sometimes I do group activities, but there just isn't enough time in the school year to do everything as like in-class activities. And yeah, sometimes I'll have them do really like really easy, simple things that are simple yes and no answers. Like, I wouldn't have them do this with essays or anything, but simple yes and no answers and fill in the blank. We'll sometimes be like, okay, now swap and grade some things. Like, I do it sometimes. It's just that there's some material that in order to get them applying it and really understanding it, then doing it that way really isn't going to be helpful. And having students grade other students' essays, a lot of times, you don't necessarily know that the other students know what they're looking for. So that makes it sort of counterproductive isn't the word, but just not as helpful and also not as helpful for me to even see who's getting it or if there's something that everyone's missing, because if I'm going through all the essays and all the homework, I can see what information the majority of people are missing or misinterpreting, and then we can go and cover that in class again. But if the students are grading each other's things, well, I'm not really seeing that unless I still want to go and read all of them, but that's a lot of work for no grade.
Do you consider yourself a good teacher?
I think I was more organized and better at it when I first started, but I think I'm okay. I think I'm all right.
So do you think that you're able to tell which students are struggling and which students aren't struggling? Can you tell that?
I think sometimes, well, I can certainly tell who's trying.
Okay.
But that isn't always the same thing as who's struggling, who's not, because I'll have some students who have to really work their butt off to get passing grades, and then you have some students who can just glide through with A's, so it's not necessarily that easy, and then you have some students who just aren't going to try, period.
But in your years of experience, do you think? I mean,
when I'm
that,
looking at the work they're doing, I can tell who's struggling.
yeah.
But
So
I have to be looking at what they're handing in.
well, yeah, that makes sense to me. I guess what I'm trying to find out is, as a competent teacher, which you are, yes.
I do all right.
Okay, all right. Competent? Is that no?
Nuance of difference.
Okay, so then as an all right teacher, you're able to recognize the difference between students who are struggling and who maybe have things a bit more in hand.
I think so. Most of them look like they're struggling. But
Okay. So with that being said, then there are students in your class that you can trust to do peer on peer
yeah, there'd be a
review.
couple.
So let's consider that no, not all of the assignments that you do are going to be in class and peer on peer. You give grades, or you give grades to one another. But let's consider that maybe instead of having 5 essays over the semester or the course of the school year, you're going to cut that to 3 and make 2 of those essays in classwork. Do you think that might help you a little bit at home?
Well, I mean, it would certainly be less grading, which helps time-wise. I guess.
Okay, cool. We can end it there.